Good afternoon. As a nation, we have a fundamental responsibility to protect our children. Any case of mistreatment or abuse of our children diminishes all of us. Every child in our justice system must be treated with humanity and respect at all times. At the start of this week, Australians were shocked and appalled by the images of mistreatment of children at the Dondale Youth Detention Centre in the Northern Territory. There can be no greater responsibility bestowed on an adult, a parent, a government institution than the protection of a child in their care. On Tuesday, I announced that the government would move to hold a Royal Commission into the treatment of children and young persons detained in the Northern Territory Youth Detention System, and in particular the Dondale Youth Detention Centre. Today, in cooperation with the Northern Territory Government, the Attorney-General has recommended to the Governor-General terms of reference and an eminent person for appointment as Royal Commissioner. And I can announce that just a short time ago, the Governor-General issued letters patent to establish a Royal Commission into the child protection and youth detention systems of the Northern Territory, and to appoint Mr Brian Ross Martin AO, who's here on my right, as the Royal Commissioner. Mr Martin is eminently qualified to undertake this important role and will bring to the Royal Commission a wealth of legal experience. He has a deep understanding of the legal and justice systems of the Northern Territory and a deep familiarity with issues arising from the engagement of Indigenous people with the criminal justice and penal systems. The Royal Commission will conduct a thorough and thoroughly independent inquiry into the specific systemic problems identified within the Northern Territory, how those problems arose, the failure to identify and correct them, and appropriate reforms. The Royal Commission will identify the causes and the failures in the Northern Territory and provide lessons applicable, or lessons from which, I should say, other correctional institutions and child protection institutions in Australia can learn from to ensure that they're not repeated elsewhere. It's important to note that the matters of concern at the Dondale Centre are in relation to the treatment of all youth in detention centres. It's also important to recognise in the Territory a significant number of these young people are Aboriginal and Indigenous people. Indigenous Australians make up 45% of the 10 to 17-year-old population of the Northern Territory, but 95% of that age cohort in detention. Now, Mr Martin comes with immense experience, as I said, and the Attorney-General will speak about that in a moment. But he has been a former Chief Justice of the Northern Territory, a Justice of the Supreme Court of South Australia. He served as a Justice of the Supreme Court of Western Australia. He served as the Director of Public Prosecutions of the Commonwealth. We welcome the broad support for the Royal Commission. Numerous individuals and organisations, Indigenous leaders, have moved very quickly to offer the government a range of thoughtful and constructive suggestions for the development of the terms of reference, all of which we have taken into account.